Okay, so on we go. Big morning, the big ceremony with a culmination of a lot of work and commitment that was put in by these 4 Jukai recipients, and we continue, to maintain continuous practice through all of our comings and goings, all of our risings and fallings away. Always maintain this mind, this unified mind session. We're at the end of Ango. We've been practicing very intensely our community for the last 3 months. We broke noble silence a little bit at lunch and was sharing a little bit about this Ango period. And several of us agreed that it was the strongest Ango ever in our memory, with this group. It's been very good, strong practice with extended morning sittings that our Chuso, Hoden, initiated right from the beginning. And they've been very well attended, so a lot of strong sitting in the mornings. And for the last week, the evening schedule, there's been a lot of good participation there. So the group is absolutely deepening, very rapidly actually in the last few years. And really kind of since we came back from COVID, I would say there's been this very rapid intensification of the group practice. So I'm sure all of you feel it in some way and have participated in it, which is really wonderful. So around this time last year, I was pretty sure that I knew I wanted to, and I was hopeful that I'd be able to get a 5 or a 7 day full overnight session in Ian Zen. I was thinking we could do it actually out at the Abbey at Shishin Roshi's place, which is just 15 minutes from here. And that really didn't manifest, I think probably as much because of the busyness of my schedule, but I don't know how many other people would have been able to commit to that. But I'm going to put a line in the sand now and say, and I'd really like to do, at least a 5-day overnight session next year. Yeah, at the minimum. So if you have an interest in that, then just keep up your strong practice, and of course you can communicate that to me too, but actions speak louder than words. So just keep up your strong practice. I've really enjoyed this Ango period. It's been very full. It's a very moving ceremony for me this morning, to be with the Jukai recipients who've been practicing with me for a number of years, and big day. It's a big day. Yeah, I remember my Jukai, which I took when I was 26, going on almost 27. And I knew it was a big day at the time, but I didn't even realize how big it was, in subsequent years, just the shift that happens. And taking the lay precepts is quite profound. It'll affect all of you as you're feeling already, and it affects the whole Sangha. There were tears from everybody. It's very meaningful. This will be my last Dharma talk in this Ango. Our theme this Ango period has been Appreciate Your Life. I've loved this theme, actually. I think it's been my favorite of the last few years. Actually, last year was pretty good too. It was the Bardo. That was a very live theme last year. But this one was, this has been very, very deep for me, and I think for all of you too. In some ways, it's very simple. This practice of appreciating your life, but it's also subtle and deep. The layers that our practice opens up for us in terms of this appreciation. Yeah. So going back to the beginning, when I started Ango, I quoted Maezumi Roshi and what he meant, trying to bring out what he meant by this appreciate your life, the dimensions of it. It's more than just enjoying your life. It's really appreciating the texture, intimate texture of your life. It really is the self-study that Dogen talks about. To study Buddhism is to study the self. It's giving a very close and warm attention to your life, moment by moment. Yeah. If we're not in the moment, if it's not based on the moment, it's on some level of interpretation. Right? It's got some aspect of story about the future or the past. Yeah. Now, if we get in touch with how our stories about the future and the past are arising in the moment, then we're in the moment. And then the stories aren't a problem anymore. When we notice they're arising, when we're in touch with the feeling thought as it emerges. It's a term from a Zen master named Menzan, feeling thought. Feeling thought. And so in Buddhism we understand that all feelings have some aspect of thought attached, and all thoughts have some aspect of feeling. So body and mind are never separate. There's nothing that's exclusively a body experience and not a mind experience. And there's nothing that's exclusively a mental experience that isn't also a bodily experience. Yeah. It's really interesting. It's somewhat freaky actually to really recognize this fully implicated phenomenon that's happening. But of course, we don't really experience it that way, do we? It's like the physical world is happening and our body is happening, and then we have our mental understanding, which is just a mind map. But they're just not separate. You could say the map isn't the territory, but it's also not separate from the territory. Yeah, how do these maps arise? Where do they arise from? So appreciating our life is appreciating our life in the moment. It has to be continuously based in that. Continuously based in presence. Experience of full presence. Maezumi Roshi says, appreciate your life as the subtle mind of nirvana. So in our Jukai ceremony and in our Fusatsu, our renewal of our vows, and when we take the vows, we start with being one with Buddha. Right? We represent our identity as the three treasures. Being one with Buddha, being one with Dharma, being one with Sangha. Being one with Buddha. So when Shakyamuni had his awakening experience, he, according to our lore, said, I and all beings everywhere are simultaneously awakened. Right? So all beings throughout space and time, including all of us, right now, our awakening. We're one with Shakyamuni's awakening experience, which is also happening right now. And then Maezumi says, your life is the life of the Buddha. I say, your life is the life of the Buddha. So it's the same thing from the other side. Buddha living through you as you right now. Right? It's just looking through two sides of the scope. We're participating in Shakyamuni's awakening then, and Shakyamuni is participating in your life, our life now, without separation, as one. There's a lot going on, isn't there? There's a lot going on throughout space and time, right now. Right in this moment, there's so much. We're connected to so much. We're even dependent upon so much. We're reliant upon so much. I'm mindful of the conditions, that have created life on this planet. I think they call it the Goldilocks zone, right? Is that what it's called? Aparna? Is
Yes.
it Goldilocks zone? Is that what it is? That's it? Are you nodding? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. It's that, not too hot, not too cold. This porridge is just right? So it's the conditions on Earth that are just right for this, this life to emerge, right? So we're like scanning the heavens for the Goldilocks zone that might have that kind of combination, right? So there's that Goldilocks zone for life on Earth, and then there's all of these, conditions that we need to be present right here, like for this to be happening, right? We need to have a certain amount of oxygen. We need to have a certain amount of heat. We need to have a certain amount of nourishment, sunlight, grounding. And then for our psychological and emotional health, relational connection. Right now, your life is like in a Goldilocks zone. Perfect conditions for your life to be just as it is right now, in this moment. So, can you appreciate your life in that way? The perfection of you here now. Now that really is the subtle mind of nirvana, experiencing yourself, appreciating your life as that subtle mind of nirvana. Yeah. And nirvana is that kind of cessation. Yeah, cessation. What is it's cessation of attachment. It's the cessation of that separation or the overlay or the filtering that we bring to life. And Maezumi Roshi talks about how, we have all these thought bubbles that come up, So in the thought bubbles, it's like there's so much going on. There's just so much going on in our minds. But it seems, it seems like a fire hose of activity in our bodies and minds. All of that, hundreds and thousands of sensations and thoughts kind of flowing through in the course of the day. But then we just count our breaths to 10, and we just make it 10. Bring it down from all of those bubbles, and then we just bring it to 10. Or we just follow our breath with our inhalation and our exhalation, so we just bring it to 2. Just bring it to 2 things that are happening. Or then in Shikantaza, we just bring it to 1 thing. And then we go really deep, and it becomes no thing. So all that stuff that's going on that I just mentioned a few moments ago is also nothing going on, nothing happening. So appreciating your life is appreciating, all of this. Right? It's the nothing happening and it's the everything happening. It's all of, all of the experiences that you're having in your life. But also having contact with this dimension of the absolute where nothing is happening. So this just takes, it takes commitment, and it takes practice, continuous practice, to really bring this dimension alive. At the beginning of Ango, all through Ango, I've been kind of somewhat randomly just opening up Appreciate Your Life, Maezumi Roshi's book of talks on this. For my Dharma talk, Inspirations. And the first talk I gave in September was the first chapter, so today I went to the final chapter, and I just jumped in there. And he has some wonderful stories and reflections, and what stood out to me was he's talking about Master Gensha, who was a student and successor of Master Seppo. And Master Seppo is one of my favorite Zen masters, somebody that I feel a very close kinship with. I gave a talk on him early in my career when I was Shishin Roshi asked me to pick a Zen master to give a talk on. So I actually didn't know too much about Seppo, but I jumped in and then did some research, and I found that I really liked him. And at my Shuso Hosen ceremony, which we'll have a Shuso Hosen tomorrow, Hoden is our Shuso, I did a koan which had featured Master Seppo, so I came to know him very well. And he was a very stubborn and stubborn Zen student, to the point where he was kind of kicked back and forth between teachers because they found him to be so dense. and he kept kind of hitting himself against the wall and feeling himself to be a failure after a year or two in one, and then he'd go to be another, and then he'd go to another. And he ended up having a profound awakening experience, which was actually precipitated by his Dharma brother, Gensho. And he went on to become, one of the most, I don't know, what do you say, popular? That's not the right word. He ran a monastery with 1,500 people in it in China, which is, I think, about the biggest one, the biggest size that I've ever heard of, and throughout the years of Zen. So he became a very, very seasoned and powerful teacher with a lot of students. Master Gensha was one of his students. Master Gensha was brought to the Dharma. He was a fisherman, and he was out in a boat with his father, who was also a fisherman, and he was about 30 years old, so he was pretty old, and his father fell overboard and drowned. And that's what precipitated his move to the monastery, to understand something, who he was. Death obviously encourages us to look at ourselves and ask this question. So in those days, of course, that's very late to come to, to enter a monastery, 30, but he did. And he, and with no training, and he practiced very, very strongly. We have to imagine he did because of what happened after that. So about 2 years into practicing at Master Seppo's monastery, he decided to go on a pilgrimage. And he left to go out on the pilgrimage, and he wasn't that far away when he stubbed his toe. And as the pain shot through him, he asked, where is this pain coming from? And he immediately had a huge awakening experience. And he turned around and he went back to Seppo's. Master Seppo saw him coming. And he asked, why aren't you on your pilgrimage? And Gensha replied, Bodhidharma has never come from India, and the second patriarch has never gone to India. Bodhidharma and I are walking together hand in hand. Bodhidharma is no other than myself. I am the second patriarch, going nowhere. Being here is my life. Shakyamuni Buddha and I are sitting together, sharing life together, living together, breathing together, counting together, being drowsy together. This is how, we want you to appreciate your life. I like how he says, Bodhidharma and I are practicing together, and then he says Bodhidharma and I are one. It's like, yes, we're together, and then we're also one, and then we're hand in hand, and then, so it kind of, it manifests in sort of different ways, you could say. We're hand in hand, we see each other, we recognize each other. I'm inside him, and he's inside me. Manifests in different ways. Yeah, it's not just one way. It's not just one way. The me is still here. The me is always here. Sometimes I feel, Seppo inside me. Sometimes I feel Shishin Roshi inside me. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. It's not an idea. It's an actual recognition of that being, who's living inside me. Maezumi Roshi the same way. I feel that. So is it same or different? Yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. But this is it. Appreciate your life, being one with the Buddha, being one as the Buddha, awakeness. Breathing in and out, in and out. Eventually you even forget about who is breathing what. There is no inside, no outside, no this, no that. Everything is altogether disappearing. So what is there? You can answer nothing. When you truly say, you can also say everything. When we understand Master Gensha's statement, Bodhidharma has never come from India. Second patriarch has never gone to India. Bodhidharma and I are walking together in hand. Bodhidharma is no other than myself. Shakyamuni Buddha and I are sitting together, sharing life together, living together, breathing together, counting together, being drowsy together. When you really understand this, all our questions about practice will be resolved. Have trust in your life as the way itself. Have trust in yourself as Shakyamuni Buddha himself. I want you to appreciate this. This is not a sophisticated teaching. Your life is Shakyamuni Buddha and I are practicing together. Every one of us right here, your life is. Everyone can close your eyes and say this under your breath, in your mind. Shakyamuni and I are practicing together. Please have good trust in yourself. Yeah, those are the last words of appreciate your life. I threw in some of mine in there. Yeah, so we have a little bit further to go in our Ango, in our Rohatsu, so please apply yourself, through the course of the afternoon, this evening. We'll come for practice tomorrow morning, and then we'll have a wonderful, lively Hosen ceremony tomorrow. Hoden will share his wisdom with us. And really this matter of trust in yourself is very, I want to encourage you to have trust in yourself, have confidence in yourself. It's very important. So, and it's can sometimes be difficult. It's such a it's big. It's a big practice. We're like going for it here, aren't we? I really want to wake up to my true nature. I really want to experience Shakyamuni and I are one. I want to appreciate all of you with your dedication to a practice that's big. Yeah, bigger the better. Yeah, is making the most of your life. So it's important to have trust in yourself on that, because it's so easy to, have a kind of an imposter syndrome or say, not me. Say, no, it's only, certain people who can have this experience or realize themselves in this way, and it's not true. Every single one of us, has the ancient seed. Yeah, has that potential. So we water it with our practice. That's what Master Gensha did. Those 2 years he was practicing, he did obviously he did incredibly strong practice. And this was interesting too, and Maezumi brings this out. Seppo had 1,500 people in his monastery. Like, how often did Gensha talk with Seppo in the 2 years? Not that many times, I'm sure, right? Coming in as a 30-year-old fisherman, how much time did he get with Seppo? Probably like a handful of conversations maybe over the course of 2 years. But obviously his commitment and his practice was incredibly strong that he could have that type of experience stubbing his toe. You don't have that experience stubbing your toe if you haven't done a great deal of very concentrated, zazen. And you have a lot of trust in yourself. Right? He wasn't getting approval from Seppo. He wasn't getting probably approval from anybody else there. He had to really realize and accept and develop trust in himself. So that's what we all need to do. It doesn't come from the outside. It can't come from the outside, but it will come from the inside if you just keep going. Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, thank you for your attention.